Yeah, these Colombian artisano guys, like, were traveling all over South America, and I guess they were paying their way by just selling, like, necklaces they made and to, like, tourists or something, just hanging out on the street. And also selling weed, I guess, because I bought weed from him. He gave me an awesome deal, though, like $6 for this huge-ass bag. So I was there smoking like 2.5 months. I had the opportunity to take the bus to Tiwanaku one day, but it was like the wrong day, or I got there too late. And then I was going to climb Illimani, so I put my backpack on the back of my bike, and I rode towards Illimani, and I was like way up there on the side of the mountain, almost to like where the trailhead is. But my bike rack like cracked under the weight of like my 100-pound backpack. So like I was like, fuck this. You know, I still need my bike to get closer, so I like hitchhiked back to La Paz, and then I kind of like got a new rack. But then I was like so high all the time that I was like, fuck, I've been here 2.5 months, fuck this, I gotta get the fuck out of here. So I like freaked out one night, and I left at midnight. I remember some girl who was in my hotel room was like, you're crazy, you're leaving right now, what the fuck? So yeah, dude, I'm a retard, dude. I was in La Paz 2.5 months, and I never saw Tiwanaku. It's like one of the most amazing freaking ruins in the world, and I was right there an hour's bus ride away from it, and I never saw it. So there you go. That's what weed'll do to you. You're high off your ass too much. Anyways, I ride my bike up into the antiplano, and I'm riding down the antiplano. And then I was like, screw this, I'm not going to ride all through the night, I'm bored. So I went on the side of the road, and I fell asleep, and I got to, I laid down and went to sleep. And I got up the next morning, I'm riding down the road towards the south, towards, I guess, Salar de Yunui. And I think to myself, you know what? Because I'm high, I'm not thinking clearly, I'm kind of drugged out, I'm not like really enjoying what I'm doing, I guess. I'm like, fuck this bike touring bullshit. I'm just gonna I'm gonna sell my bike to the next frickin' antiplano person that I see, and I'm gonna start taking the bus. And I'll like climb these mountains hiking them, but I'm not gonna ride my bike to them because I just don't want a bike tour anymore. So I get to the next like antiplano house, and I get on the side, and it's really, really as basic as you could possibly get. There's this little river going through, and there's like this little stone hut here and another stone hut across the river, and there's this antiplano dude, really friendly, and I'm like, hey, what's up, bro? I want to buy my bike. And he's like, what? I'm like, yeah, dude, check this bike out. And it was like a Shimano bike, said Shimano. I got it in Guatemala for like $120 brand new, but it was totally bomb-proof. I mean, the wheels were really, it was like a 60-pound bike. I don't know how heavy it was, fucking heavy as fuck, but it was as sturdy as, every part of it was as sturdy as the top of the line bike. It was an awesome bike. It was an amazingly awesome bike. I loved it. It was like made out of solid steel. And I had all the parts to it, all the tools and pumps and everything. So I'm like, yeah, I'll throw you everything in. And he's like, bargains me down. He's like, well, all I have is this. So he pays me, and I guess is all of his money that he had, which was all in change. He paid me completely in change. $15, I sold it to him. And I'm like, all right, I'll sell it to you for $15 if that's all you've got. But you have to let me stay with you and your family for 6 days and pay for all my food and everything. And he's like, awesome. So I stayed there one night, and they put me up in their guest house room, which was just a dirt floor shack. And they actually had like a pile of rocks right next to it, and I'm like, what's that pile of rocks for? And he goes, oh, we're building a new house. So I guess what Indians do is when they want to buy a new house, they just collect rocks for months and months on end until they have a pile of rocks big enough to actually stack up on one another with, I guess, the cement that they save up and buy, and boom, they've got a new house. But it was crazy because these kids were all of his kids and all like the neighbors' kids or what, or I guess all of his kids were totally excited about me being there. They all gathered around me in some room, and they're like, you do a dance, you do a song. So I was like, all right. So I did my song and I did my dance because I like wrote like rap songs. Like when I was in La Paz, I wrote like 6 or 12 rap songs, which I lost. Even though I backed them up in all these places, I can't find any of them. They're really good too. So I like sing my rap songs and doing my songs, and they were all laughing and thought that I was the funniest guy in the world. But then the next morning, and they gave me like all the food they had was like, chicken heads or whatever. It wasn't that good. So I was like, man, the next day I got bored. You know how it is when you're drugged out. Everything's boring. So I was like, fuck this, I'm leaving. They're like, don't go. You said you'd be here 6 days. Where you going? I'm like, no, I got to go. They're like, no. And I'm like, yeah. So I get on a bus. It's totally overcrowded. And like, see, my idea was to travel through and climb all the mountains in the antiplano by hiking. So I got like $350 worth of Bolivian money, but all in small bills, so I didn't have to worry about change. That's a big problem in these countries, is change. So I had a stack of money like that thick. And I remember I got off like a bus and I like whipped it out and I was like flipping through it, like counting it right in front of these French tourists. And I remember I saw them kind of go like, freak out, like give a weird look. I was like, anyways, I had way too much money, dude. I had enough money for like a year of doing that shit. And I ended up having to switch it all out when I got to Chile and losing a lot of money because of the exchange, but whatever. So anyway, yeah, so I take the bus, and instead of taking the bus to go and climb the highest mountain in Bolivia, I like suddenly didn't have the motivation to do that detour. So I took the bus over into Potasi, which is like supposed to be the highest mountain, highest city in the world, but it's not. It's actually the same exact altitude as La Paz, the part of La Paz which is on the antiplano, because not all of La Paz is inside of the valley. About half of it is on the antiplano on the western side, and I had an altitude watch, and my altitude watch told me that Potasi was the same exact altitude as La Paz. So Potasi isn't the highest mountain in the world, or city in the world. It's the joint highest city in the world with La Paz at 13,800 feet. So I went into Potasi, which is like, I guess used to be the biggest city in all of South America while they were doing the silver mining. It's an interesting city because they have this mountain, I guess called Mount Potasi, which is where they all got all the silver, and that's where they minted the money for the Spanish Empire for all of South America, because that's where they got the silver. But like, we did the tour of inside the mountain, and I guess the inside of the mountain, they riddled the whole thing, all like 20 different stories worth of holes where they mine, you know, and there's Indians still there mining, and the Indians don't make much money, but I guess that's what they do, and they mine. And we did the tour. I guess the tour guide even makes more money than they do, but we were in there, and those guys were kind of grumpy. Like, they would, like, you know, push their little wheelbarrows of ore, and instead of telling us to get out of the way, they just ram us, dude, ram our feet, and just, like, you know, ran by us. And they're working really fast, really hard, hardcore workers. And we had the opportunity to go way, way, way deep down into some hole, but nobody wanted to, so I didn't want to be like, oh, okay, I'm the only one, I want to go, just to hold them up. So, but it was like a little hole you go down. Like, the miners were even coming out of it, so they had to like go around us, and it was kind of like they were kind of we were kind of getting their way. But it was like really hot down there because of some kind of a chemical reaction of something there. But I guess the miners only live like a couple of years after they start mining because of all the chemical reaction shit that they breathe. And I guess lots of them die too from like cave-ins and stuff. So they have this like god that they that every day they like give cookies to or burn incense for. The guy actually showed us that they asked to help them protect them or something. That was in one of the major holes there. And then we went out and he blew up a thing of dynamite for us that we saw. He put a t-shirt over it. When it blew up, we didn't see parts go out, but the t-shirt vaporized. Nothing left of the t-shirt. It's pretty crazy. Potasi itself is a beautiful city though. It's kind of on the side of a hill, and it's got cobblestone streets and stuff. And and we did the tour of the mint, and I guess the mint was it was when they had slaves, and they brought Indian slaves and black slaves, and I guess what our tour guide said was none of the black slaves survived because black people can't take the cold. But they said that these slaves, they would stand up the whole time, and he showed us the rivets in the ground and the floor, and the wooden floor. There were these rivets that looked like footsteps because they just stepped in the same place for hundreds of years or something. It was like that deep of holes where they stepped. Yeah, so then I was there for a few days, and then I left on the bus instead of riding. Wait, I didn't have my bike then anymore, did I? So then I take the bus over to Salar de Yunui, and I'm all excited about Salar de Yunui because it's like this huge salt flat where it's totally flat, you know, and I was going to do the tour. So I get off the bus and I'm walking. I get off the bus and I look over and I see this like 16-year-old like Bolivian chick with these huge tits. I was like, damn, she's hot. But anyways, I walk down south and I go down. There's like some kind of like, and I sit down. There's all these like tourists there. Like, I don't know what country they're from, England or something. Totally hammered, partying and drinking. They're like, hey, you come and sit down and drink with us. I'm like, all right. So I sit down. And I'm there for like a minute talking to him, and then this like really hot blonde German chick comes up to me and she goes, "Hey, I noticed that bike helmet on your backpack. For some reason, I didn't sell the antiplano guy, the campesino, my bike helmet. I guess he didn't want it, and I was like, I decided to hold on to it because it was a cool helmet. It had like a map of the world on it. But she's like, yeah, because like I just toured across Peru and the Salar de Yunui with my boyfriend, and like I'm going home now, and he's looking for somebody to bike across the Bolivian antiplano with." Oh, schnoots, there's the video.